Good morning, everyone. This is my watch list for Tuesday, April 21st. All right, so what happened yesterday? We got that pop and fade into 709. It really wound up going up to 710, but we caught this open short at 709 down into 708. It was a nice 15% scalp. We should have re-entered this probably on the breakdown of 709 later in the morning here. It was just chopping around so much I couldn't find a re-entry. But yeah, this was actually just a Trump news candle right here at 1050, and we got this massive wick down to 706. But then we wound up holding that 706 level. All right, so what are the levels today? It's the 710. I adjusted my level to 710 because that was previous session high, as well as you can see the reactions here in the after hours. So if we get back below 710, we can look for shorts again back into 706. We are gapping up a little bit today into these Friday highs, right? So this is the previous all-time high. We could also watch for failures of this previous all-time high, okay? So those are really our two options today. Failure or break and hold, right? If we, for whatever reason, we break and hold the Friday session high, then you could look for longs. But I like either the failure of that or the failure back below 710 for shorts. QQQ is already at the previous all-time high from Friday, 650, okay? This is like a very obvious psych hold number. Basically same chart as SPY. Off the open, we got a nice little pop and then faded. We actually broke below the pre-market low and then wound up reclaiming it yesterday. I mentioned 642 as a big demand. We got into 642.50, and then that's where the Qs held. What can we watch today? On the Qs, it's the 650, right? There's nothing else. This is all-time high. This is previous all-time high. 650, if we fail 650, we can look for shorts. If it builds over 650, you can look for longs, okay? Let's look at some individuals. Apple got some news, Tim Cook leaving, okay? That doesn't mean that I see anything on the chart. There's just nothing here for me. It's too overextended to look for longs. Like over 274, you could look for longs, but then you're just longing back into supply. 276 is supply, all right? And it's already pretty overextended on the chart. So I'm not really watching anything on Apple today. I am watching AMD though. It's that 272. Look, it bounced again yesterday. Bounced on Monday, bounced on Friday, bounced on Thursday. 272, previous all-time high on the 4-hour. If we get back below 272, this is a short for me, right? Because the chart's pretty overextended. If we get below 272, I'm looking for shorts on AMD. Amazon also got some news. They're investing in another $25 billion in Anthropic, okay? So that's why it's popping up 3% this morning. It was really in the after hours yesterday when it made that big move. Where can you look for longs? Potentially over 256. This was the high from Friday, okay? However, I will say previous all-time high is just above. It's at, let's see, 258. Yeah, 258.50, okay? So there is some room above 256, but it's not a lot of room. $2.50 above. So this is a long, right? If we break and hold 256, this is a long. Just be aware that if we get to 258.50, that's where you may see some struggle on Amazon because that's the previous all-time high. Another name I'm watching is Meta. Meta closed down 2.56% yesterday, one of the weakest names. I really like this 668 level, right? We talked about this. This was the demand bounce from yesterday. This was the bounce from Thursday. We'll see this little after-hour pivot here. If we get below 668, I like shorts on Meta back into these lows down here from last Tuesday into 660. So it's about an $8 move that Meta can make if we lose 668, okay? Netflix, I'm still watching that 91. It hasn't gotten there yet. I was watching it yesterday, it still hasn't gotten there. But once we do, 91 is huge. You see that on the daily, right? See it on the daily, 4-hour, whatever. This was huge demand back here from March. If you get to 91, I like longs on Netflix. NVIDIA, I mentioned the 200 short yesterday. This actually wound up working. If you took the failure of 200, it sold all the way down into 197.50, and then that's where it held, okay? But it's the same level moving forward. You know, look at NVIDIA's chart. So many daily green candles in a row. I'm just not really interested in taking longs at this point. But if it gets back below 200, then it's a short again, okay? Same with yesterday. Once we broke below 200, it sold at $2.50. If today gets back below 200, we can look for shorts again, back into 198 and then 196. PLTR is at supply, 148. I'm not watching anything here. Tesla, yeah, I mean, Tesla, not a lot going on here either, honestly. 383 is demand. Besides that, I don't have a lot of levels on Tesla. All right. Main watches for today, AMD, Amazon, Meta, Netflix at that 91, and then of course just the SPY and QQQ. All right. So let's see what happens. This is an interesting little gap up here. I thought we were going to start selling yesterday, but let's see how this session goes. Trump is talking at 8:30 a.m. He's being interviewed on CNBC. So let's tap into that today. I think actually tomorrow is the end of the ceasefire. Let's see how the next 2 days go. I'm not just going to get out of my position. I want to see what happens first. I think that the ceasefire is going to end and war is going to continue. So let's remain in our position for now, and then if anything changes, we can get out of it. But I still like shorts. So let's see what happens, and I'll see you guys on live.